I'd like to show you the crosscut sled I made yesterday. It's made from 3/4 inch poplar and 1/2 inch plywood. I've done something a little different from what most people do to make a crosscut sled. I cut this piece out ahead of time according to the left side of my table to the center of the blade plus 1/2 inch. Installed the runner and then run it across the blade to make a zero clearance edge right here. I did the same thing to the right, but I'll explain that in a little more detail in just a moment. The fence is 3.5 inches high, 1.5 inches thick. This back half of the fence is all one piece. However, this is two pieces up here. This one is glued directly to the front part of the fence and is permanently affixed, while this half up here is free floating. What I did was I mounted hardboard as my table topper. I screwed this in, ran it across the blade to maintain a zero clearance for the tabletop. You see there's no screws right here, which is perfectly fine as it's going to serve the exact purpose I need it to. There are knobs here and in the front. There are 1/4 inch by about 1.25 inch slots on the back here and on the front, with holes that have been threaded here and in here. The reason I have this is I have this hardboard screwed to the bottom of this piece here and this piece here. Why do I have that? Because I wanted my crosscut sled to be versatile enough that I can use a single 10-inch blade and still maintain a zero clearance. And at the same time, I'm able to do this. It's a little awkward to do this with a regular inch blade, but I'll figure out a way to do it. As you can see, this base slides. I have a Dado set, the Oshlin Professional 8-inch blade set, and with a zero clearance insert in the table itself, I can remove that, and I can install a Dado set up to 13/16 into the table, and this gap is 1 1/8 inch, 1.25 inches. So when I need to install a Dado set, I can use this crosscut sled for any cut from tenons, half laps, just regular cross cutting. It's even wide enough, about 24 inches, to cut panels less the thickness of this fence, and the fence in the front give me about 22 inches of cross cut capacity. This, as I said before, this is screwed directly here. This is screwed directly here, so it moves along. So when I'm done and I install a regular saw blade into the table, push it over, maybe back it out about 1/16 so it doesn't tear into the hardboard too much, cinch it down, front and back, and I'm ready to go with a regular crosscut. I used something I saw on the woodwhisperer.com where I tapped holes for a 1/4 inch threaded rod, used a rotary tool to cut some threaded rod, and used some red Loctite to attach this knob permanently to it. So now I got myself some nifty little knobs. And what I could do, I had this Lexon sitting on the floor, just a regular scrap piece, ran it over, well, this crosscut sled, and I was able to make this dust deflector. Dados and regular saw blades deflect dust through the back and up into your face if you lit it, so this will keep it mounted and maybe just deflect it to sit in this little channel so it doesn't get into my face, and hopefully catches most of it so I can vacuum it up before it hits the floor. Well, this is my crosscut sled. I made a stop block for it. If I wanted to cut tenons, I will probably keep it backed off like you see right here. If I wanted to make a tenon that was 3/4 of an inch deep, I will probably install a 1/2 inch dado, set this back, measure it off the tenon off a pencil line, and then just creep up on it and keep the stop block away from the line so my blades do not cut into the stop block. This is the line where the fence separates, and the stop block has absolutely no difficulty running over that. And it is flush. It probably requires a little more sanding to make sure it's very flush. However, I have another use that I have in mind. I wanted to make box joints. So what I'm probably going to do is I have some 1/4 inch steel runners that have threaded inserts, so I could run in this channel, get a few machine screws, get a piece of plywood, and make a small box joint jig that I can affix to these T-channels, and I can use my Crosscut Sled for making box joints. Yeah. Well, so far I'm very happy with this. I do not have to make a sled for every single application. I can just run a regular blade like this, or I can slide this over, install a set, and slide it back to zero out the clearance, as I do not want pieces falling into this channel and sitting there. As if I don't notice it, or I get lazy and don't clear it out before I move it, that piece could stick in there. I run it in here and it could cause all kinds of problems. I haven't run any problems yet, and I don't intend to find out what those consequences would be if I got lazy. It's replacing this Crosscut Sled that I did consider just running a 13/16 channel through it, but I wanted that zero clearance option, so I made this. There's a few other things I want to do. I want to round over or put a chamfer on these edges. I don't want to get a splinter or a sharp edge or cuts from sharp edges. Slightly dull this edge here. Level this out to where it's flush with the rest of it. Sand this. Get a little sandpaper and slightly round over or blunt the edges of this Lexan, because it's almost as sharp as the corner of glass. So I do not want to, I'm certainly not going to cut myself on the blade, so I don't want to cut myself accidentally just using a jig. So this is my Crosscut Sled. Hope you like it. It's loosely based on the Shop Notes Crosscut Sled with the adjustable base, except this one has 2 runners, which I read on the internet is a little more reassuring. So if you have any questions, post them. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can.